Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Glad you came to visit tonight. We have Annika Walls, and Annika's here to talk a little bit about representation and organizing. And with that said, I'm going to interrupt. So we're going to turn it over to Annika.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you to the three of you that are on here today. 2 days in a row can be a lot. I know. It's okay though. We're gonna talk about organizing 101. There's been a lot of questions lately about, what's happening? Where are we organizing? What are we organizing around? How do we organize? And so I wanted to give a little, just like some outlines, some tips of what I think we can do. And we'll talk about kind of, this can be small scale in our work sites. It could be scaled up, all the way up to, obviously our statewide actions and things of that nature. So let's go ahead and get started. Boom, there it goes. I really like this picture. I found it today. Anyway, organizing 101. People, power, change, right? We as the people together create power, and that's when change happens. I thought that was awesome. All right, so what is internal organizing? That's a big question, right? Internal organizing for Local 1000, right, is building up the strength to face the challenges that impact our employees and the public sector. And so, these challenges that we've seen, and we'll continue to see, right, could be political, they could be economic, they will raise or maintain the standards that we already have fought for and won, and or make those better, right? Worker education, and then leadership development, ultimately, right? That's what building membership is kind of the backbone of all of this. And we should realize that internal organizing is the cornerstone of a strong union, right? It's the backbone of the labor movement. So very, very important that internal organizing is happening. And so I understand kind of the importance of why everybody is asking these questions. But as Bill has stated recently, and we will continue to state, there are things that are moving, right? As this presentation goes on, I hope that you see that it's not something that we could just turn on from one day to the next, because you want to have kind of all of these pieces, right, in order for it to be successful. So first things first, right? What do we need to do first when we're trying to organize something? Well, we need to, right? We need to get our member information together. So we realized, and we've found some issues, right? We know where we could get better in terms of the information sharing that we're doing. And we've had those conversations as leadership. So that way we could make sure that we are getting the information to you guys that you need to build the membership in your areas. But this also, I said you could make some of these recommendations, and what we're talking about can be very small level or small scale. And so getting your information, your membership information together could mean at your work site, right? Could be on your floor if you're not in a state building. So this could be as little as, maybe the 4 or 5 represented in that area, or it could be as big as a whole state building, depending on where, what it is you're doing, who it is we're targeting. You want to make sure that you keep track of the data that you're collecting. You're updating it when you know that there needs to be changes. You're making sure that it's correct. If there's movement, right, you're changing that too, you're tracking. The other key thing is charting. I know we've had, back in the day, we used to have some trainings on charting, and charting looks very differently now, especially in a digital world, but we can still do it, right? Maybe that chart looks differently. So maybe there's a chart for the people that are in office, and then maybe there's a chart for those that are teleworking, and we have a different strategy to touch those people. We talk here, and we'll get, once we're fully done with this, we'll get a small little piece of the NEO stuff. So, but NEOs, the new employee orientations, go ahead.
New
employee orientations, right? And other meetings, right? So you want to start, again, taking stock of where we're at, right? Are we having the NEOs? Are we having meetings? Are we reaching out to represented employees? Are we reaching out to members if we're having some kind of a, member-specific meeting or something? And then lastly, of course, who are your leaders? Who are the stewards in the area, in the DLC, in the region? And who are the activists? Because we all know that we have activists and leaders that are not necessarily stewards, right? Sometimes people just want to help by passing stuff out or making sure that, maybe they're just having some conversations for you and inviting people to the meetings. And all of that is great. Know who those people are. You want to make sure that you're taking note of who they are, where they are, and who they are connected to as well, right? So let's see. So the next slide. There we go. So another key piece is building your base, identifying and recruiting the activists, right? So what are some key things that we want to do when we're building our base and when we're trying to identify and give people, we here at Local 1000, we call it like, we give them like tasks to do. We're kind of testing what they want to do, what they're willing to do, how they will participate, right? So key, make it easy. Start easy, I'll say. Maybe, of course you're going to build them up, but you want to start easy, make it easy. You want to keep in touch with them. You want to make sure that you're having conversations regularly. You're sending an email. You've kind of gotten to know them a little bit. So when you see them in the morning, how was, your class last night, right? If your steward Anika's a Zumba teacher, how was your class yesterday? You keep in touch. And then you also bring people together, right? And so that's not always necessarily for a union event or meeting, but of course we want it to be eventually. But it's also a way to gauge, again, and identify and recruit what your people that are willing to help, people that are willing to give of their time and volunteer.
And so how about also including some ways to make it fun?
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. You make it fun. What are some ways? I mean, I'm sure me and you could popcorn some stuff. Some ways that you could make it fun, identify and recruit activists. Like I immediately in today's age think of like a Facebook group, right? That you could connect people and talk about what's happening. We do that here.
Challenges,
discuss
right?
Challenges.
Come up with some challenges.
Yeah.
We had, this is a little strange maybe, but we had a little contest to go out and find some members that nobody knew where they worked.
That would be fun too, like a scavenger hunt for members.
Yeah.
That would be super fun. That's a great idea.
And it was a lot of fun, but we never found them.
So this time we got to find them, right? We have to find them in order to move them into the action, in order to activate these people, right? Some of the other stuff that we think of is, just inviting somebody for coffee, having lunch, asking for, maybe you guys are working together on a project and then the union comes up, right? You could just have conversations about different, there's all kind, I'm like blanking right now, but there's so many different things that you could connect with somebody on that has to do with our jobs and therefore is automatically connected to us, the union. So, how about like when our contract is coming up? Hello, lots of questions I know are going to come with that. So social media is good, and don't be afraid to keep asking, right? Like keep talking to people, as it says there, keep in touch, but keep making the ask as well. And you'll see that later, as you can't be afraid to continue asking. Oops, wrong way. All right, we got to do what matters most, which is incorporate the issues. And here, this is, I think, a perfect time for us to kind of talk about issue-based organizing, right? And you'll see how, or maybe you won't see, but we're trying to get you guys, us as an organization, we used to do organizing very different. And issue-based organizing tends to be a way that you will engage people with long-lasting issues that affect them, and then they'll see the connection, right, of the help, of the activation, so that they too are helping fix the problem that they've identified. And so, like it says up there, you find out what people care about and you connect that to union membership. And again, right, kind of like what we were just talking about, it could be health, it could be community issues, it could be, the OPEB, it could be all kinds of stuff, right? The message matters, right? So you want to make sure that your message is consistent and that it's clear. You want to listen and adapt. Here we say, having conversations with people, you should be what? isn't it 70/30 is the number, the percentage that we use here. I would say you really want to listen probably more like 90/10. Even though I'm talking a lot right now, 90/10 is really what you want to do, right? When you're trying to connect with people and have conversations. And then what I said at the very beginning, you want to identify the issues, identify those worksite issues, those regional issues, those maybe departmental issues. And when I say think big, that's where kind of those last suggestions came in, right? Like you're thinking departmental. Those are probably some of maybe your JLMCs, your statewide JLMCs, things of that nature. And so let's see, you want to make sure, just to kind of recap, that it's widely felt. Remember I said you want to, when you're thinking big, deeply felt. Those are probably things that you all have heard before. And then you want to think about, is it winnable or not, right? Because all of that is obviously important when we're thinking about what we're organizing around. So then of course we got to put it all together and make the plan, right? An effective plan establishes goals and provides the roadmap on how to get there. So we should have a timeline. There needs to be accountability measurements. And you have to be able to pivot when something isn't going the way you expected it to, or maybe you're finding different results, or right, there's different reasons that you may want to pivot. Maybe you need more involvement from the individuals or from the department or from the work site that you're trying to get this organizing plan off the ground for. And it's critical, right? There's this people power. It's critical to have people prepared to play the parts that you guys have decided on. So in that plan, you're also identifying kind of the roadmap, right? Like we said, so you want to make sure that you're setting the goals, that you're planning the steps out, and it could get kind of a little makes you go crazy, but step by step, you really got to plan it out. It's always great to put together organizing committees, right? So when you're actually when you're setting these, so when you have bigger picture plans, if you break that up into little groups, it makes it a little bit more digestible, right? So this committee could be working on one piece of it, and then this organizing committee could be working on another piece, and together you guys are attacking the big plan.
So one of the things you're trying to get people to do here is think about giving everybody a job to do, giving everybody a task.
And identifying it. Yeah, you want to make sure that you are giving the task and making sure that you're holding the people accountable to that task. And if you're given a task and for some reason you wake up like me this morning and do not feel great, you communicate that out, right? Don't just let the task fall. You would communicate it and say, hey, I can't do this today because of for whatever reason. And if you are, again, communication is always key, but you want to make sure to communicate that to whoever you're working with, so that way it doesn't just get dropped. It's still in motion. Yeah, and then we talk here all the time about debriefing, right? Making sure that we debrief with one another after meetings. We do, our positives, our negatives, figure out what we could do better next time. And then again, right, you make adjustments for whatever next time, whatever you're doing next in whatever event or whatnot. All right. So your number one tool, and this right here, realistically, could be a training all in itself, is the one-on-one conversations. And I think we have had trainings back in the day, but we got to get these back because one-on-one conversations, you do want to practice, right? You want to practice and practice and practice, but there is kind of a little bit of a formula to it. And so I'm going to share that with you now. You always want to introduce yourself. And you kind of make you have your opportunity to make the first connection there, right? So if I know that I'm talking to a state employee, I would probably want to introduce myself as a fellow state employee, right? Boom, connection. But your introduction is always important. Don't lose people. You want to listen, get their story. Sometimes don't have in your head the preconceived notion of how long their story should take. Or, maybe you were planning on having lunch at 12 and you messed up and went to this person's house at 11:45 and now they want to tell you their whole life story. Oh, well, you're going to be hungry because you need to get their story, right? You don't go in there with kind of like your own thoughts. Don't let your mind be get their story, listen, figure out what is going to move them. Again, another important part is agitation and education. So when you're listening to their story, you want to pick something that you've heard them say is an issue, and how are you going to ask them open-ended questions and agitate that issue so that they realize that they can be a part of the solution, right? And framing their understanding, I had to say framing their understanding because the word inoculation really bugs me, but that's what it is, right? Framing their understanding is what we here at Local 1000 call inoculation. So really what you're doing is, again, you're asking those open-ended questions so that you're framing their understanding over what you're agitating them on. So if, let's say, for example, there's, let's use like the changes in us, the OPEB stuff, right? Us paying for OPEB again. And so maybe you would agitate them by, maybe that's not a good one because there's not much we could do about OPEB. Right now, there's not much we could do about OPEB.
Isn't another way to look at framing their understanding, like focusing and coming back to the issues that they're telling you about, right?
Essentially,
coming
yes.
Back to their story, but maybe making it clearer as you come back and recognize your story. So you're trying to focus and clarify and make sure that they feel understood?
You're almost trying to make it their idea of the movement that needs to happen. Yeah, you're reframing, you're exactly that. You're reminding them of what agitated them, and you're helping frame that so that it's kind of their idea what the next steps are going to be, right? How are we going to fix this? And again, these are a lot of open-ended questions, right? And then you ask for the commitment. Whatever it is that is, whether it's a membership app, maybe it's a COPE commitment, maybe it's to come to the next meeting, right? It doesn't have to be huge. It could be small. Maybe the commitment is that they're going to bring a friend to the next meeting, right? And so one of the little, you see down there at the bottom, one of the formulas for overcoming objections in a conversation, because we have tough conversations. We call them courageous conversations sometimes. But you always want to empathize. You want to, give an answer. And if you don't know the answer, let them know that you'll come back with the answer. You could redirect, kind of like we were talking about, and ask again, right? Don't be afraid to ask and come back, and don't bug them, don't bother them, but ask again, right? There's ways to do it. All right. Let's see. Clickety, not working. I don't know why. All right, so the next one, let's see, where were we on?
Try it again.
Let's see. There we go. Is the assessment piece. So the assessments typically here are the numbers, right? The 1 through 5, 1 through 4s, 1 through 4 or 5, 1 through 4. Sorry, guys. And so we see those as an activist, one that's a supporter, an undecided, and then somebody who's not likely, or maybe they're even going after some decert stuff. And so, we would put them at 5. But assessments are necessary and helpful. So you always want to make sure that you're assessing your leaders, your activists, your stewards, the people that you're coming in contact with, your members, right? When you're doing your mapping or your charting, that would be a great place to make sure that you have kind of those assessments connected so that you could, refer to them whenever you need to. And when they do those three of the following things, right? They allow you to get precise about the progress of the overall campaign, whatever it is you chose to do, whether it's small or big. They help maintain consistency about the results of the one-on-one conversations. And they help the organizing be more efficient. And so make sure that you're right. I alluded to the numbers, but be careful of oversimplification. So rather than just putting the number, maybe you add some notes, right? To help you the next time you go back, to help you understand that person better. Maybe your notes are getting pushed off to somebody else because they're now working something else that would include this individual. That's going to help moving with any other campaign, not just the one you're in, but if you use, this DLC or this region moving forward, where they're at, and then you could reassess after the next or the next whatever, whether it's a work site meeting or, again, something big like a JLMC, or something of that nature. All right. So here's some real simple do's and don'ts for internal organizing. As you can see, I kind of listed them on both sides, and it's kind of just like a recap of what we were talking about. Do listen, ask open-ended questions, be sympathetic, work quietly at first, and that's kind of a funny one to me, but right, you don't want to come out, and I learned this the hard way. You don't want to come out, hell no, we won't go all the time, because that's not necessarily going to be effective depending on who you're dealing with and when you're dealing with them. I found as a steward coming in, right, that was my nature. And management was not very receptive to that personality coming in, trying to tell them what they needed to do, right? And so I found that being a little bit more, bringing it down a couple notches and finding a better way to communicate with management was a little bit better, right? So I worked quietly at first, and then once I gained the power in the office, I got a little bit louder. And don't be afraid to ask for help. I put that all in caps because it's key, right? Sometimes we want to try and find answers to give somebody an answer right now, and we don't want to do that. Make sure we're giving a good answer, the right answer.
And when you talk about asking for help, right? Sometimes you feel like you want to do something, but you don't know how to do it. So if you reach out, there are other people out there who've done something similar or maybe the exact same thing before.
Yeah.
And you can use them to learn how to do it yourself when you're really feeling uncomfortable about a situation or
Yeah.
taking something on, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's not recreate the wheel if we don't have to, for sure. Let's make sure that we don't. The don'ts are big, right? And they say don't, because we want to make sure that you don't assume, that you don't give up too soon, because this is work, right? Organizing is hard work, so don't give up too soon. Don't argue; it's really not worth your energy, and there's going to be another chance, another time, and you want to keep obviously things as respectful as possible. So the arguments are just mostly unnecessary. And then lastly, don't take it personally. We all know, those of us who have been organizing forever, even those of us who have been in leadership positions, like a lot of things are said, and well, some of it is true, some of it is not, but either way, like, you got to get through your days, so don't take it personally, right? Sometimes it comes with the territory. I know that doesn't sound good, it doesn't feel good, but don't take it personally. All right, so did you have any?
I think we should shift gears and take some phone calls before we move on.
Yeah,
again.
let's do that. I'm with it. Hola, Dalia. How are you? Go ahead, unmute and ask your question. 2 days in a row. Woohoo! Oh, hold on. I can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Dahlia.
I don't know why.
She froze.
It looks like she's unmuted too.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Are you there, Dalia?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. We hear you now.
Okay. That, we don't know everything. And one of the beautiful things about being a steward with Local 1000 is you have sisters and brothers throughout state service. So, as you grow in your leadership, as you gain seniority, if you will, you're going to have friends at CalPERS and all over the place, and be quick about calling up your sisters and brothers in those other agencies, because that also helps us as organizing. I've told people, you know what? I don't have your answer. I'll try to get to you tomorrow or the day after, because we have a sister, we have a brother at another agency. And a lot of times, I'll end up talking to the folks real quickly because I haven't talked to them for a while. And then I call the person back and they said, wow, your sister, your brother? And I said, it's your sister and your brother too, because as a union, we're all sisters and brothers. And that's why bosses hate us so much.
Andale, yeah, there you go. Yep. You are absolutely right. Yeah, it's a great idea, especially not just for, different organizing campaigns or things that you're organizing around, but like we had talked about, just for the mere, keeping in touch, staying in touch, making sure that you're
Mhm.
connecting with individuals that across departments, super important, especially in the DLCs. And I would argue all up and down the state, right? So
Mhm.
thank you,
Yeah,
Nadia. Of
you're
course.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So does Nicole, do you have a question? Do you want to unmute and
Are there
come
any
join
other
us?
questions? If you have a question, raise your hand. It's kind of funny actually, because normally there's a ton of people on here and today there's not. And so like I put in my slides, right? I am not taking this personally at all. And so, it's okay if you guys don't have questions. I do see though that we have one from Christina. Hi, Christina. How are you doing? Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Christina.
Good afternoon. A couple of things. One, you may want to specify that this is starting at 6:30, not 7 now, because I missed it myself that it's starting at 6:30, not 7. And my alarm just went off for 7, but I remembered by the email that it was 6:30 when I came on at 6:40 something.
Okay.
Second thing is, members in my DLC would like to know why they're focusing more on doing the little DLCs. How I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I know why we're focusing on the little DLCs. They're not, I don't mean little, but low numbered DLCs, and not listening to the high numbered DLCs on what they're requesting and asking for. And something that you and I have talked about several times, my members want to write a petition, and they're to the point that if something doesn't happen, I've said not to. I've asked them several times not to. And then today I said, you know what, if you want to write a petition, go ahead and send it to you. And I said, it'll get to all of you guys, because they're fed up. Enough's enough with not having what they have requested and what were promised and then taken away again, and nothing's happening. So
So Chris,
I'm talking in circles because I don't know the other people here, and I don't want to. Annika knows what I'm talking about, and
okay, okay, all
I
right.
Yeah,
don't want to badmouth people, but I want to get the situation solved at my DLC. And if I would have thought about it yesterday, Bill, I would have asked you to come by for just a few minutes so we could discuss it.
Okay.
Yesterday was a heck of a day, and I didn't get a chance to, kept losing you on the phone, and that's not your fault or my fault. That's the building's fault.
Yeah. So
That's the facility fault.
we'll circle back. There'll be another opportunity.
and
Okay.
actually, Christina, I also owe you a phone call because, as I had talked to you and some of your stewards, I did have the conversation that we spoke about earlier, and so we could talk about, the next steps moving forward. But there has been movement. I don't want you to think that you guys have been ignored, and thank you for having your stewards reach out, because it's not just you, right? It's everybody else who has reached out that has obviously made this kind of stick out a little bit more as an obvious issue. So
I
we are trying to address it.
thank you. I have 3 people that were considering becoming stewards, and they said, no, not right now. It's like, okay, SEIU's not listening to us. Why do I want to be a steward? I was told today that I'm pretty stupid because I keep saying, stick with this.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say it again. Stick with us, because we are, again, Bill said it a couple times, like, now really watch the work. I mean, we're not just focusing on, and it may feel like this, Christina, I apologize if it does, but we are not just focusing on the DLCs with lowest membership in terms of like resources and getting stuff to you guys. So if, if there's some more stuff that you need in terms of aside from that, what we're, the one issue that I know we're kind of working on fixing, and that may be some of our issues as well in terms of training, right? We need to be better about our training all around for our stewards, for our staff, And so, we're gearing up to that. So a lot of these things are, you heard me say on yesterday's call, percolating, because there are a lot of things moving, right? And from when you go back and watch the first part of today's presentation, whenever you're trying to get something up and running and you're trying to organize something right, it takes a little bit of time. So bear with us. I know it's not easy to hear, and I know there's been some weird transition this go around, and I'm sorry that you've experienced what you did, but we're trying to remedy that, Christina. Thank you for sticking with us.
I'm gonna tell you, it's not me, it's the members that are watching it on Facebook. They hear me asking questions and they say, hey, did you get a response yet? And I say, no, they're still working on stuff. And so
Yeah.
I said, there's a call tonight. I will bring it up again just to put it back up towards the top just a little bit and see what we can do.
Yeah. Thank you.
But
Yeah,
that's it.
shifts aren't always the easiest thing to do. So yes. Thank you,
Okay,
Christina.
thank
I
you.
appreciate it. No problem.
And don't forget to make sure people know it's 6:30. Put it big font in the letter.
Yes. Yeah, I think it probably threw people off because my name was associated with it, and all my calls started at 7.
Right.
Actually, I think when we first started at 7, they wanted to do it at 6:30 because that's the normal time of most calls here at Local 1000. Most of our calls tend to start at 6:30. I think I'm the crazy different one that did it at 7. So every other non-Anika call is a 6:30 call.
That's why I'm watching the numbers. We're up to 8 now, so we'll see by the time we're after 7 what we get. Thank you guys. Good night.
Of course.
So-
Good night.
So just so everybody on the call knows, this is two sides. So there was improper links sent out and some confusion, and we actually have hundreds of people who can't get here and are going to be upset with us, and that's why I was called to the side a minute ago.
Oh no.
So we'll have to take some responsibility and work on fixing that. But hey, it's life, and things do go wrong. However, the upside of this is for the people who we have here, you can get a lot of time in tonight.
Yeah, we have it. Yeah,
So,
plenty of time left.
If you've got something that you want to talk about or ask around organizing, raise your hand and jump in.
Yeah, please do. Well, what we could do too, until we get, just meanwhile, let's jump into just part 2 of. And this is just kind of, in the first presentation, we talked about some of the things that we could do to help increase membership and some of those meetings, right? We had said the new employee orientations, the NEOs. And so I had asked Sam Toki, who is actually in charge of the NEOs, to kind of help and just give us an idea of where we're at. So that way we can not talk so theoretically and have a couple of actualities, right, in terms of where we're at with it. So we, if Keith, you want to put up the second slideshow with the purpose statement. So this is the new member program, which essentially is the NEOs, right? That's this is us reaching out to the new employees. And so, right, this is the purpose statement that has been put together for it. And mind you, of course, we're still kind of working through this, but changing the course of history by building the next generation of SEIU 1000 members and leaders, laying a foundation for our union's values by inspiring a sense of hope in what is possible for the families, our communities, and the world. I would say we need to start in the city first, but heck yeah. Okay, so some of the core strategies. Most departments are still conducting virtual NEOs, which I alluded to on yesterday's call, right? So we do have new employee orientations virtually happening now. We've established regular recurring virtual NEOs with departments like DMV, EDD, DOT, FTB, and we are also currently working on expanding the reach of the NEO program and working to secure NEOs in the smaller departments. You heard me say yesterday that some of the smaller departments have been harder to get on board, harder to enforce with some of the smaller departments, but we're trying to get there. And so for the departments that don't typically conduct the organized NEOs, there's ways for us to get around that, right? It's up to us to enforce it. So you'll see on the slide, the very last piece right there, that RSVP. So for smaller departments, new hires, so they could also, like, we host NEOs as well, right? So if you know that somebody hasn't had one, I would, if you could either screenshot that, this screen, or write down that very last bullet. That's, that's a way to kind of let us know that this individual, this person needs it.
So let's take a little diversion there for a
Yeah,
second. So
Sure.
what's made reaching the new employees so difficult?
Well, I feel like right now people would probably say telework, right? We've seen a drop off since we went into the virtual world, and a lot of offices are teleworking. Obviously, not all of our offices are, and so some of them still have our people, our reps coming in and doing the NEOs. But for the telework, I would say that that would be people's number one answer, probably.
So one of the things to think about, and one of the things where I think we in the office environment here on our end are going to need help with from all the stewards who are in the work sites, is how do we find the people who are teleworking 100% of the time, who have never worked in a state office building since they were hired? How do we find those people? How do we connect with them? And what are the conversations we need to have with them for them to understand the importance of having a union and being a union member when they're working out of the safety and security of their own home, right?
And that's a great question. One of my answers, it would make some people uncomfortable, but I think we need to get a little uncomfortable if we're going to be reaching out to our teleworkers, to our represented employees that are teleworkers. I think house visits is a great way to do it. It's a great way to come into their area, their comfort area by, again, kind of going back to the last presentation that we were giving on those one-on-one conversations. It's a way to really connect with people, find out what their issues are. And although the thought of home visits can be uncomfortable for individuals, but it's really not as bad as you think. Sometimes just going and getting past that first knock is all you got to do. Even with dogs barking in the background, you will be surprised how many people are just happy to see the union. In some of my experiences, some of them have been great, and other people yell at you from the sidewalk and tell you not to come closer. And guess what you do? You don't go closer. You leave them alone and go to the next house. But I think that's one of the ways that we could do it. Another way to do it is to, go out into the community, right? And find, depending on kind of here in Sacramento, that might be a little bit easier, but there's usually certain places where you'll see the groups of state employees. So in LA, right? If you're in the LA area, you maybe work at, let's say the Ronald Reagan building, there's a lot of teleworkers there. Maybe you're figuring out what days people come in for their meetings, right? Because most people are coming in to drop off or pick up stuff. And sometimes that happens on specific days. So maybe you're finding out what days those are, and maybe you're just standing outside those days if you can't, access them at their desks, or maybe you're going to the places that they go eat lunch, and you're having conversations. But it's definitely outside the box thinking to hit those people up.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this because Annika and I and David and Irene, we've all been talking about this because we're going to have to do something different than we've done in the past, because the workplace has changed. Our lives are different as a result of the pandemic. And some of this stuff is not going to change going forward. So if we could get better information for people, if we had their home addresses, we could start out by doing something like sending them a gift.
Dalia actually had
Right.
mentioned on last night's
Yeah.
call that she would like all the stewards. You remember those little steward pins
Uh-huh.
that I know we have a couple bags at least lying around here. I'm not sure we have 800 of them, but right, something close. That would something like that. Or when we send out, she had said maybe the Christmas cards, right? Something small.
Yeah, but I
yeah.
mean, if we sent something
Tangible.
small, mouse pad or something from the union to people's homes, as a first contact, right? And maybe a card that says, you're important to us. We're trying to find you, right?
Yeah, I mean, also like in today's world, right? But maybe we create some kind of a system where you can, get points or something. Maybe every time you go to some kind of a event, whether that's a Zoom event or something, and then you could I don't know, maybe, your treasure chest idea, but the treasure chest is here at Local 1000 and we send the prizes out depending on how people participate, right? Like, again, outside of the box thinking. I do think we have to be a little careful when we are trying to have a transactional kind of situation happen. But I do think that a lot of times it's a good way to start the conversation, remind them that you're around, right? Especially right now, we need to rebuild the trust of our membership. And let them know that we are here to help help them. We are going to help them.
We're going to
Solve
build
their
a new
issues.
team.
Yes, we are.
Right?
This family's going to get much bigger.
So that we can solve the issues together.
That's right. That's right. And we're going to help with all these committees too that we're talking about that are percolating in the background. All right. So the enforcement, guys, we have talked about AB 119. There is the website. So if you are connected with somebody in your department that schedules the NEOs, please send us the schedule to AB 119 at ab119.sciu1000.org. Departments are still inconsistent, right? When you saw the list on the prior slide, all the departments were not on there, obviously. So how can you help? If you learn or see new hires around, then, ask them if they've already gone to an NEO. If they have not, have that conversation. Like Mike Ramos said last night, have that conversation with them there if you feel comfortable. If maybe that's not your forte and you don't feel comfortable, please find somebody or call the MRC so that a rep could reach out ASAP and we could get that done. Like it says, right? Send us their names and the work site. To the same email address that is up there. Oh, and look, it's that it was at. So AB119 at SCIU1000.org. That was a misprint. Follow the bottom one. And then we are continuing to build up the capacity and to secure more recurring NEOs with the different state agencies. So all of, we're working on where we know we have holes, right? We know we kind of have an idea of the departments that we need to enforce with. And then the ones that we need to kind of just make sure that we're actually getting to all the NEOs, right? And then what does the future hold? Well, I've spoken about it many times. I said it last night, but we are in the process of updating the NEO materials. Hopefully that happens quickly. I think we've made the decision for that to start happening again, I believe, right? So hopefully that comes out quickly. Yeah, did we? I don't know. We need to, though.
I think we did.
I think we did.
I think we did. Somewhere in the mix. I think that got accomplished.
I think so too. So fingers crossed that it did and that we're worrying it's happening because everybody knows that it needs to happen. And the NEO trainings will, those are coming too. We realize that we need to train up more people in the regions and the work sites to be able to do those new employee orientations so that it is you, the person that is closest to this new employee, who is having the conversations, who is a direct contact, who is who is the vessel of information or at least a conduit to it. So that's where we're at with that. Okay, I just wanted to highlight one of those because that's probably one of the programs that you will be seeing most quickly kind of get up and running, right? Some of the others, just to give people ideas, is the member-to-member program. We've talked about that, and that's, we're gonna pilot that soon. We don't have dates, so just giving you guys ideas of what's coming. And then also we have the member educating members project that we have going on. All that will be piloted so we could roll out and get to the board so that they could decide if we're going to roll it out on a big scale statewide, right? Which I think we will. I'm very, very positive that we will get the support that we need because they're really good programs and we've seen their successes, right? So I'm not sure if there are any other questions. I don't see any more hands up, but that is all that I've prepared today. We are open to any question, really. Would love for it to revolve around organizing or representation, but at this point, If you have a
You'll
rando
take any question
I
you can
mean,
get, huh?
with all 11 people on here. And yeah, so apologies to all the people who had to jump on Facebook to watch for whatever reason. We'll get to it.
Let's have Christina unmute.
Christina, let's see.
Quick
There you go.
question. Can you guys send out an email to the state departments and let them know that there isn't an NEO committee anymore? They should be letting the stewards know who the new employees are. We quit getting, as stewards at the facilities, we quit getting the new employee information because previously it was sent out that only the new employee committee representatives would be coming to do orientation. That
Okay,
would really help on getting new employee information.
that's a good flag. I will have that. Well, I'll ask about that because I know the committee, it still exists. It just doesn't involve very many members right now. It's staff, right? So so maybe that's not officially a committee, but
As chief stewards and presidents, we used to get a list of new hires that came into the DLC and where they worked.
there should still be a movement
Right.
report that the presidents get.
That was
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
be my next question is, can we get the movement report back? I
It's
haven't had a membership report since I became president and they sent that first one out.
And I'm guessing you've requested them. It would shock me if you have not.
I
Correct?
requested one, but they were, when I requested it, when I called and, when I requested it, there was something going on where there weren't in the office. Oh, I did not request it because you guys couldn't get into the office for that reason.
Oh, okay.
So no, I have not yet requested another one.
So make that request to reports, Christina, as the president. We've actually been able to open it up a little bit and we're working on hopefully expanding it even more. But in that you should be getting a movement report of people who have moved in and out of your DLC, as well as a member list.
Right.
Yeah. So
I will send an email for it. It used to come automatically. That's why I was asking if that can start again. But I
No,
will
it does
send an
not come
email.
automatically anymore. You have to
Yep.
request it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You are very welcome. Mr. Stephen Alari, how are you today? Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Yes, hi. I'm sorry. I was helping out some of my investigators, so I didn't hear all your conversation since Bill made the announcement about the link. But I got the new link, and that's why I'm on. So thank
Yay!
you.
Welcome.
But I was looking at the SAC-B about that story about the COVID bonuses, and they're going to start. Most employees might get it. Are we involved in that?
I have not seen that. When did that break today? Was that today?
That was
Stephen?
today at 10:34 this morning. It's in the understate worker.
Okay. Yeah, I had not heard anything about that today. Have you, Bill? No?
I knew the story was going to come out, Steve, but I didn't know what the story was based on.
Okay,
Well,
well,
maybe something
it-
for us to ask and follow up about.
Yeah, it says here that the I guess Department of Treasury finalized the rules last week on how the states can spend the money, and I guess the rules clarified that all employees, government receiving the money are eligible for extra pandemic pay, meaning all of the 230,000 state employees. I guess Gavin administration agreed last. I'll let you just go to the article and read it, but it's in today's understate worker.
Okay,
wanted to
thank you,
clear that.
Stephen. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. Okay,
Check it out. Thank you
thank
very
you
much.
for sending the new link. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you to our IT people working diligently behind the scenes. Dalia, I see you again. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Okay, this is in regard to the NEOs. I think it was Christine's question. I used to be, I don't know if I got knocked off, but I used to be one of the NEO,
Trainers?
one of the folks, yeah, one of the folks who would sign up members. And because as you saw when you were in LA, how big my building is, usually they would just have me stay at Caltrans. So I was wondering, what is the mechanism for stewards to be able to volunteer for various committees, or if there is a mechanism yet? And I hate to throw more work on you, Annika, because I know that falls under you.
No, that's
I hate
okay.
to,
And
but I'm willing to help you however, you need to get things rolling. And I would love to be on the NEO committee. I remember that the folks who had worked on the program spent almost a year getting it into that shape. So hopefully it just needs a few tweaks
Tweaks.
and updates, and I know that I used to have like big signs and stuff because as new as that Caltrans building is, it never was able to use the computer interface. So I used to use the physical parts when talking to folks, the big placards. I gave those back to our coordinator because I figured I wasn't, on the NEO committee, but I do want to be on that if and when
Okay.
it's up and running again.
We will, so yes, the answer to that question is that a committee like that will at some point be formed. It has not been formed yet.
Okay.
Right now, it's mostly staff that is doing the virtual NEOs, and actually, we had just had where we have an open
I lost
conversation
you.
or invitation. Oh, okay, hopefully you could hear me. A conversation about sitting in on one of the virtual NEOs, so that way we could, figure out how possibly to get more people on those, and we could experience
Mhm.
them ourselves. But also the written stuff is definitely those
Mhm.
cards and things are a little outdated. I think the last ones, the one that I saw, like it still has the state bar left off of our DLCs, right? So it needs some major, well, not
Oh,
major.
yeah,
It needs some updating. But thank you, Lydia. Yes, I will
yeah.
put your name
Revision.
down.
So,
Okay.
so Irene just texted me and she just wanted me to reach out to everybody for a minute and let everybody know that the letter went out to the state today requesting dates to meet around telework and essential worker pay and this other program with this other money for state employees. So your bargaining group is at work to help move things forward.
Awesome news. That is always good to hear. Any other questions from anybody who has, I see that we've gained some more people. Thank you. We apologize for the mistake, but thank you for coming on here. If you missed any part of the original presentation on organizing, please go back and watch it. I think it's good reminders, good tips. And if I will always say, and I will continue to say, if you need help, let's schedule some time for me to come down and we could go through it, right? I did some of that down in the Ventura area. Sometimes it's a matter of just figuring out how to attack your work site or your, for DLC presidents, maybe it's your DLC. And I know some of you have reached out. Nisi, I have not forgotten about you. I'm not going to name call all of them, but people have reached out. Keep doing that because we're trying to make sure that we're diving in and getting you guys the help that you request for, right? We're doing that as quickly as possible. So just bear with us, but we are moving. Did you have anything else that maybe you wanted to talk about or mention?
Well, I don't see any hands. Maybe we could take a little risk here and ask people to reach out to us about what they need help with directly or what's working or not working. So in Oakland, we've been tabling very successfully again as people have been into work. We chose Wednesdays because that's when most people seem to be in the building. So that's been a way that we've been able to reach everybody is tabling in a common area and doing some flyering to let people know that we're there. So what kind of problems or obstacles are people finding they have to overcome? And
or things that have worked for you?
And what's working, right?
Yeah.
Still seeing no hands. They're leaving us hanging.
So maybe another suggestion is trying to get things going around different events or different, like we're coming up on Nurses Week, right? So if you're a DLC president with a work site that has a lot of nurses in it, maybe you would want to maybe donate some money for swag or do some kind of nurse appreciation lunch, or right, we know that mostly they're working and they're not able to telework for the most part. So that might be an idea. We know DMVs are around always, right? So maybe looking at the offices that you know employees are at before you get into the nitty gritty of having to try to reach out to those teleworkers that are not in the office or figure out those days. What else have we seen work? I've seen some really awesome Zoom meetings with raffles for the members that show up, and that seems to be really appreciated, both the information given at the Zoom meeting, but also, kind of getting a little surprise in the mail. Vincent Green, go ahead. I'm gonna ask you to unmute and you can ask your question. There you go.
Hello, so not necessarily a question, but a comment or a response to your inquiry. I think, I think everybody on the call can probably agree that, in post-pandemic, we need a list of some sort. And I will use, IT as an example. On the CBER for the city of Sacramento, the Sacramento surrounding area, which is about, I would say anywhere from 3 to 5,000 strong IT. Okay, I need to, it would be nice to have a list to see who the members are and or who those new employees are coming through. At least some type of contact. Otherwise, it's kind of like shooting a gun in the dark. You don't,
Shooting yourself in the foot with that gun, yes.
because you can't see your foot. So it's definitely like dark. The other thing is that I caught a little bit about what Bill was talking about as far as sending new employees maybe some sort of gift or token to say welcome aboard or whatnot. That could be as simple as a letter saying that, we found out that you're an employee. We will be in touch with you to let you know what, let you know about 1,000. But also, I would also say too, I think it's high time that we show a little bit of appreciation for the members that are here. A lot of times we only talk about what we need from the membership, and we engage them about what we need. But it's a very simple thing just to say, hey, thank you, and we appreciate you. Because like I said last night, membership is not important. Membership is everything. So,
Right.
so you have to begin to look at things, and if this is a different day, if this is a new day, and we're looking at doing things differently or a new way, maybe those are the things that we need to start to incorporate too, because a lot of times we do ask what the union is doing. I know what we do. Bill knows what we do. Annika knows what we do. Irene knows what we do. There's a whole lot of people that don't know. So now we have to start doing things a little bit differently and maybe reaching out a little bit differently to show appreciation. For stewards out there, I suggest the cape. Said that last night. With a big S. Purple cape, big S. Because we are out there, doing super things if you really truly think about it. And that just needs to be appreciated to some degree. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things that actually David and I have kind of mulled around a couple times is getting, I don't know if you guys remember, a couple of DLCs did it, but regional kind of like days in the park, right? Where it wasn't quite a union fair, but it was like a member appreciation where they'd have a barbecue and
we used to
one
do
to
one
two DLCs would come together.
every fall. We did one down in the Bay Area, and they were pretty successful.
All the ones that I ever went to were very successful. And so maybe, even with COVID now being outside, and even now that the lift has come or whatnot, even though I wear my mask all the time. But yeah, let's get back to that kind of stuff. I think that'd be fun, right? Even if we included maybe like a jumper for the kids to make it back. I remember back in the day, we were very, very family oriented, and not to say that we're not anymore, but I see that my kids are some of the only ones that I see around here, and that's because I'm here all the time, right? But We used to have, even if we used our own here in Sacramento or regionally, if we used our offices to do, right, pull people in, and maybe that is a little bit like a union fair. We're inside, we're giving information and doing some presentations, and outside people are walking around, communing, eating, having fun stuff. I mean, anyway, yeah, that sounds like a good time to me. I'm with it. Let's plan it. Somebody who was talking about that down south, they were saying that they wanted to get back to that, and I'm all for it. I think that sounds super fun. Thinking outside the box. Thank you, Vince. Anybody else? Oh, Dalia. I almost didn't see your hand. Sorry about that. Go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, I'm just chatty tonight. Anyway, in talking about something that worked well in the past and family is when we were doing phone banks. I think it was for State Senator Connie Leyva. And so whether we did them in the office or at a restaurant, the children were invited and I put the kids to work. I asked the parents, let me take care of the kids. And then while the parents were phone banking, when the like say if we got a yes, we would ring a bell or have the clappers, and I let the kids make all the noise. When we had to run things to folks,
Uh-oh, I lost you. What happened? You're still unmuted, but I lost you. Did you mute yourself, Dalia? One more time, Dalia. Okay, we're gonna move on. You might have to come back. But yeah, those, again, awesome ideas. Yeah, that sounds fun. Oh, there you go. Oh, not no more. Raise your hand. Mr. Green, I'm sorry, I said I wouldn't do that. Vincent, go ahead, unmute and ask your question. See, I caught myself this time, Vincent.
I appreciate that. I really do. The other thing that I would suggest that worked well for us in Unit 1 in IT was we went around to several different locations with ice cream.
Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah.
And again, if we're showing appreciation, it could be, ice cream, whether you're, if you're a member, definitely. But if you're not, you take an application or some information, you get some ice cream. Yeah, I don't know about Bill, but I like ice cream.
I like ice cream too. I'm especially, man, I maybe not so hot in LA, but I know here in Sacramento there are some definite I need ice cream type of days. So and maybe it's warm chocolate in the Bay Area on a cold day. I don't know, Bill. Some warm coffee as they're going in or something.
Coffee and tea, right?
Coffee and donuts. People
Yeah.
love that stuff,
Yeah.
huh?
Chocolate.
Yeah.
And those are relatively inexpensive to do. So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for sharing some things that have worked. Mr. Alari, go ahead, unmute and please share.
I just wanted to add on to what Dahlia was saying for the phone banking when we're doing it. My members, they bring their kids, and I teach them how to make the calls, and they're on the calls with us and help train them, and they love coming back. My DLC loves making these phone calls, and I find a great spot. You can ask Marks from the political staff, DLC 723. They rock when it comes to phone banking. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you. And I bet the kids get probably such better responses because of, the way they say it and their cute voices, huh? Man, I see the thumbs up. Dania probably had them kids ringing them bells and shaking them clappers all over. That's awesome. That's another thing that I would tell David. Like, I mean, even in the office, that was one of the things that I felt like would get people's spirits up, right? We have a case carrying type of environment. And I would think, like, even when you close a case, like, let's ring a bell, make people know that we were right. And so I love the idea. Dalia. All right. Any other questions or any other comments that people want to make? Miss Christina Evitt, go ahead, unmute and share, please. Looks like you're unmuted.
I did.
There you go.
It took it a second. Something too with the families in mind is you can have the kids help with. My kids came to all the meetings and stuff with me as they were growing up.
Mhm.
When we did the phone banking downtown in Napa, they would stand, we did it at the Democratic office, and they would stand outside, just outside the windows where you could see them, and they'd hand out the flyers to people about who we were campaigning for. They like to come to the union meetings, and now both of them are adults and union workers. So you keep moving the families
Keep it in the
towards you.
family.
Get them started early, give them something fun to do. They would run down the street and grab drinks and stuff for anybody who wanted to go to Starbucks. You know, can you run to Starbucks, get me a coffee? They thought that was really cool. And regional dinners. A long time ago, they used to do the regional dinners and like at the it would be 750, 749, 751. There was like 3 or 4 DLCs that they used to do that before SCIU when we were CSCA and we
Mhm.
were not all separated. We had the retirees and everybody all together at the regional dinners to discuss goals in the future. That might be something to look back into as far as getting people together and working towards common goals, not necessarily having everybody in the world again, but at least our SEIU group.
Yeah. That would be fun. I remember that's a great idea to talk about like goals and ideas and to do some of that organizing. Down in SoCal, I think it was Stephen Ilari, DeLeon Seacrest, and there was like 3 or 4 DLCs actually that would come together and they had a rockin' Christmas party every year. And I know COVID shut that down, but there's a way to show appreciation to the members, right? And that's simple and fun. I know, and they got together because they would have it at a nice place and the food would be really good. But it doesn't have to be that costly, right? It's us getting together, congregating and having a good time. Is that your hand again, Christina, or did I forget to put your hand down? I will ask you to unmute just in case. I don't remember if I think I may have
No,
forgotten.
I didn't have anything else. I didn't put my hand down.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, did you have anything else? Anybody else have anything that they wanted to add or wanted to share or a question that they had perhaps? I do want to just reiterate, there is a lot of work happening here at Local 1000. We are in the process of getting, the new employee orientations revamped, revised, all the material. We are working on starting the member-to-member program again. We're working on how do we utilize our technology to help us build the membership more efficiently and effectively, right? There's a lot of different little projects and committees that we're thinking of, have thought of, and or are trying to get moving. And so please be patient. You guys will start seeing, I promise, you'll start seeing these things happening little by little. But a good product takes time.
Well,
And we're
we
trying to
have-
make the time be smaller, but.
We have 2 new staff hires.
Oh,
We have
let's talk about that a
two
little bit,
people
yeah.
coming on, right? We have some upward mobility. So we're adding to our contract department. And that's a needed vacancy fill with the contract coming up next year.
Yeah.
So contracts is getting staffed up and getting ready to fight for people. Danier's coming back, our
Our
CFO.
CFO's coming back, that's right. That's
That-
exciting.
That's and good for us.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So we have those going on. We have
We have a comms plan that we're working on, or that's being worked on, right? That
well, they have
Is she
they
know
have
that?
a 30-day plan in place that
There
they're
you go.
working,
that
right?
we're working right now. So that's awesome.
We have some staff realignment and moving some people around to get the work done better and fill
Right.
some voids, right?
Working on educating our board a little bit with
We
all
have-
the trainings
we
they
have
need.
that,
Mhm.
right?
There's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, definitely. Christina Evan, let's see. Was that me or you again? Go ahead.
No, it was me. Two questions I forgot to ask. One, members want to know, why do we wait every single year of bargaining until just 6 months before bargaining? It seems to make more sense if we would start meeting with members, like with minor miniature town halls or meetings like that, to start getting what the biggest concerns are. So we are more organized when we go into bargaining, do surveys of the members, ask them what their concerns are now, and then send out the top 10 and get a priority. That I got that question a lot after Vanessa and Eric came up, and then they're watching the videos and keep getting said, oh, we're not going to start bargaining town halls and stuff until next year. And they want to know, why do we wait until the last minute? And then second question was, Bill reminded me just now, upward mobility. We have staff that would like to participate in the upward mobility, but it seems to only be in Sacramento. Do they get, I need more information on that. Do they get union leave? Do they get transferred? How do they participate if you have somebody that is office staff and wants to do upward mobility into ISD or something like that? So if somebody can give us information on that or send it out in an update or whatever, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, my understanding is that upward mobility could happen a couple of different ways. One of the ways, depending on the department and depending on the unit, is utilizing our 2020, which you wouldn't get union leave for, but the state or your department would compensate for 20 of your hours, and so you get to go to school and or work on whatever it is you're working on. Another one of the ways off the top of my head is through these apprenticeship programs that, again, it's another thing that we, work on with the state. But I think you're talking a little bit different than those two things specifically. And so, yeah, that upward mobility, it tends to be a little bit harder when you don't have the support of the department. But yeah, let's reconnect on that so that we could get a little bit more specific, because I'm not even sure if we have a specific team that kind of works on the upward mobility. I don't think we do, to be honest with you. Oh, do I have to? I see you're trying to get my attention again. Okay, I think
I'm sorry, I misspoke. I don't mean upward mobility. I meant the apprenticeship program. They would like
Oh,
to know more about the apprenticeship program, and it seems that what they see is that to do this apprenticeship program, it's all only in Sacramento. And their question is, how do they get it to where they're not losing pay and get it in where they're working at, or do they get, pay to go to Sacramento for internship? That's what I meant. I misspoke when I said upward mobility.
okay. So
Thank
for
you.
the apprenticeships, I do know Sarah McGinn, right? Is that I believe is the person who does, she's kind of the heads that works on, and I know she's one of the ones who's working on expanding kind of the apprenticeship programs so that there's more that people could take advantage of, but also the areas and the expanding them in terms of the areas that they're happening in, right? So Sarah will be on. Oh, Sarah's gonna be doing some apprenticeship
She's going to be on Straight
on
Talk
straight. I'm still trying to remember the
early
name.
in May.
Early in May.
There
Come
you
back
go.
in May.
We made it direct. Look at
Come
that.
back in May. What? Sarah McGinn will be on in May. So if you want some more information, or you could reach out to her. But yeah,
And
she'll
it would
come
be a
and do
great
presentation.
opportunity for members at the vet's home to actually have a direct conversation with her and share their needs, right? Upward mobility is a need.
Yeah. So and maybe that's a way to start. Well, you already have really good membership in your DLC, but maybe that's a way to engage your people, right? Since you know that that's a big question when we have a date for when she's going to be on this, you make sure to get all your Calvet people on there so that way they could see that the union is working on some of these things that affect them directly. That might be cool. All right, Mr. Vincent, go ahead, unmute and ask your question.
Just real quickly, I do help Sarah McGinn out, especially with the IT apprenticeship programs. I'm on actually 2 that we have. So Christina and I work for the same agency. So, if she wants to reach out, that's fine. She can contact me at any time. That's first of all. But I also want to point out too that upward mobility is not overall for every single unit. It's unit specific.
Right.
Okay. Unit 1 has career development. All right, that's our upward mobility. And for those of you all that are Unit 1, hey, you now have the opportunity to turn to the department what training you would like. Not their necessary training, but what training you would like to have. And they're supposed to be able to accommodate them. If they can't accommodate, then it's supposed to be, a reason why. And then we move from there. So we have to be careful when we're talking about upward mobility, because if you're talking upward mobility, Unit 1 does not participate. Okay, so it really depends on what your unit is, and I just want to point that out. But yeah, there is excellent language as far as career development is concerned, as far as upward mobility is concerned, and as stewards, we might want to look at those sections just to make sure that we know what they're about, and then how to reach out and talk to people about this.
Thank you, Vincent.
So
Yes.
if people want to reach out to Sarah McGinn and ask questions about the apprenticeship program, questions can be sent to grow, all lowercase, GROW, at SEIU1000.org. And that way people can engage and get a direct answer to a direct question. It might also help Sarah have more and better questions for when she comes on here.
Awesome. Thank you for that email address. grow@sdiu1000.org for apprenticeship questions and or info.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? Wow. For considering we started with 4 people and that we've gotten to 7:48, I am impressed, and we haven't had too much downtime. That's fabulous. That's a win right there, I think.
Well, we could show some appreciation by ending 12 minutes early.
We could do that. Yes, we could.
Our group on here tonight might appreciate it. Our staff might appreciate it. I think you might appreciate it.
I think, yeah, even my son waiting in the office is going to appreciate it. My husband too. Anyways, guys, I think that was us saying we're going to end it 12 minutes early. Thank you everybody who joined us. Again, we are sorry that there was a mishap with the link, but please go back and rewatch the video on Facebook, and we will see you next week on Straight Talk. On
Straight Talk.
Wednesday at 6:30. 6:30. And for all the stewards on here, we will see you on Tuesday with the normal steward call at 7. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.